Okay, so patch notes for 303. We have the obligatory, you gotta look at the skins that are in the store. It's also the ending of the Halloween event and the beginning of the Thanksgiving event, which is great because Turkulon is back. Fantastic name for a world boss. You can get this this giant turkey leg on a fork. This is a warhammer. There's also some boots that look like turkey feet, and one other thing that escapes me. But yeah, it's I've never done this event before, so this ought to be fun. Let's see. Here are the release notes for 303. Added a tag to the named AI to ignore the spawn scaling effect, lowering the spawn rate at the Dayspring Tree POI. I'm not entirely sure what that was in response to. The Dayspring Tree POI. Evidently, oh, you know what? That was probably, is that the response to the Yeti? That might be the actual change that they're making to fix the Yeti. For those of you that didn't know, there was a creative use of game mechanics a couple weeks ago where you could get a large amount of dark matter very quickly in the game by farming certain named monsters in Morningdale? Or was it Great Cleave? I think it was one of the two. Anyway, they turned off, they just disabled loot drops for Yetis blanket across the board to prevent people from taking advantage of that. So this might be the actual fix. Adjusted spawns for the staff of wizardry encounter to prevent stalls when new enemies appear. I think I heard some people complaining about that in global chat at one point. So here's the things that I'm really interested in. Fixed an issue that caused gatherables to not appear in Starstone Barrows. For a while, Starstone was broken in a number of ways that made it really hard to get a gold. One of those ways was you could not gather everything. You could not pick up all the gatherables in that dungeon. You could only ever get one less than the max. So this appears to have fixed that, which is great. Starstone Barrows is one of the mutated dungeons this week. Fixed an issue with the enemy count in Dynasty Shipyard. It is now 60. Previously, I think it was like 125. So if you're doing the mutated dungeon, mutated version of Dynasty Shipyard, you'd have to kill 125 normal enemies to get that. And I'm pretty sure that's impossible. I'm almost certain that there's not that many monsters in the entire dungeon. So now they fixed that back down to 60. Fixed an issue with Goldar not counting towards the named enemy count in the depths. So this is another thing. So recall I was talking about how Starstone Barrows was broken such that you could never get all the gatherables. Seems they fixed that. The depths was broken such that you could never kill all of the named enemies. And it looks like they fixed that too, which is great. I'm really glad to see that. I know it was always fun doing depths and then ending up at the end, even though you kill all the named monsters, you end up with one less than what you need. Scorpion Sting. Added a trade-off to the Sting perk, increases cooldown by 50% upon use. So, Scorpion Sting, when you use Javelin, will pull the target towards you. Evidently now, if that effect is used, it increases the cooldown by 50%. I know there's a lot of people in PvP that are just really upset about this. Both on the user's side and the target's side. The Stinger and the Stingy. Stingies are probably quite happy about it. The Stingers are not. Lost Stopwatch. So this used to be a 100% increase. So the stuns in the game, Lost Stopwatch increases the duration of stuns by 100%. The stuns in the game are like, I think they're all 1 or 2 seconds. Shockwave is 2 seconds, which would increase it up to 4 seconds for a nice beefy stun. But they took that away and they made it just a flat 1 second now. So it's not quite as good. It's a slight nerf for Lost Stopwatch, and they also increased the damage reduction trade-off from 5 to 10%. This is a sub-bullet of this one here. The Lost Stopwatch used to have a 5% damage reduction. Now it's 10% damage reduction, and they nerfed it a little bit, so they looks like they got their sights on that one. This is an interesting one. Odo, they changed the effect to also apply to knocked down targets. I guess somebody on their design team probably told them that there's only 2 abilities in the game that have stuns. Shield Bash and Shockwave. So they adjusted it to also apply to knock down targets as well. There's a lot more abilities in the game that knock down versus stun. All player diseases add an outgoing healing penalty to disease status effects equal to half of the incoming healing reduction. So disease effects will reduce the amount of healing the targets take. This is good in both PvE and PvP. There's a lot of things that heal themselves in PvE, right? In fact, one of the mutations, actually several of the mutations give effects that will heal a target for the damage that they do, which makes them a lot tankier. This is obviously useful in PvP as well. This is interesting because I don't know if they're actually going to update the tooltip for this. They kind of make it sound like they're not going to. But now diseases are useful for both outgoing healing, like you put a disease on a healer, it makes it harder for them to heal people, as well as the people that are being healed, so it makes it more globally useful. Plagued crits removed the health requirement. This is a big one. Like, 50% used to be the health requirement, right? You used to have to crit somebody when they were under half HP for it to apply the disease. Now they could be at any health and it will apply the disease. Hello, Domina. Yeah, we're gonna get to that in just a second. I saw that one too. So this is big, especially when you combine this with this one up here. So the Pestilence Blunderbuss suddenly becomes far more useful. Like, far more deadly, I should say, as well. When you consider both of these, because A, it can apply diseases no matter what the target's hit points are, and now it's also hitting your healing, your outgoing healing as well as your incoming healing. So that's a big one. That's also going to apply to things like what, Shrinking Heals? I think it also applies to your potion as well, if you have that on you. So yeah, that's going to be really powerful. I'd be interested to see if they keep it this way. Shirking Heal, speaking of which, cooldown increased from 5 seconds to 10 seconds. This reminds me of like some of those buffs that people, or perks that designers put into games that are just so broken that no matter how much they nerf them, people will still use it. Right? So they doubled the cooldown of this healing effect from 5 to 10 seconds. Right? It's almost getting to the point of why even have this in the game in the first place, but I bet people are still going to gear for this. Slash physical ward absorption now applies to bleeds. Bleed is considered to be slash damage. This is interesting. Bleeds are considered slash damage now. So they are mitigated by things that mitigate slash damage. Okay. Exhausted next shot, reduced duration from 8 to 4 seconds, just a slight modification to Blunderbuss. Okay, Blunderbuss now deals more damage in PvE. Slightly more damage. It's only 3.75%. I mean, it's still a lot, but more damage in PvE has been reduced in PvP to keep it the same, so the total damage in PvP is going to be the same. Does more damage in general in PvE. Let's see. I don't know what any of these are. Reduced damage coefficient from 23% per pellet to 21% per pellet. So what? They increase the base damage and then they reduce the damage of the pellets. I'm not sure what they're trying to do here. Oh, this is the one that you were talking about, Domino. Reduce the radius of splash of light from 100 meters to 25 meters. Let's be honest, 100 meters for Splash of Light, it's an AoE heal that doesn't require LOS. That's ridiculous. And before they changed this, that was so broken. That was really, really, really strong, Splash of Light. Now it's at least moderately strong. It's pretty strong. Yeah, I mean, you can heal people from halfway across a dungeon with that, if you needed to. 100 meters is a long, long way. So, yeah. It'll be interesting to see how this changes some of the boss fights. There's certain boss fights that are, like, the arena is just absolutely huge, and I'm sure that that was what they were going for. Was they're trying to make it so that those arenas were a bit more tractable for the player base, but in general, you know, having a giant AoE that ignores LOS that has 100-meter range and heal people is likely going to need to be retuned at some point. Void Blade. Remove the duration limit of Void Blade. Now becomes active until you deactivate the weapon. Finally. That's how it should have been to begin with. That's how it should have been out of the box. You turn on the Void Blade, you start cutting fools up. Now you don't have to worry about it accidentally or like eventually reverting back to the ranged form of the Void Gauntlet. That's really nice. That's really good. Fixed an issue that caused staggering attacks to not trigger the increment for the breakout dodge. Fixed an issue with attacks that didn't stagger, but an intentional increment to the breakout dodge. Interesting. I don't know what this is. This is a mechanic I'm not familiar with, the breakout dodge. I think I know what it's talking about, but I don't know what that means by increment. To take a look at that. Hey, Domina, thank you for the compliment. Compliments. Appreciate that. Up to 77 uses on the vest command. Hey, nice. Leading the way, Domina. Fixed an issue that prevented certain named PvP item upgrades. To address this, we've added new versions of the PvP reward track named items with a 5th generated perk. What? 5 perks? Unlike the originals, these new named items can be upgraded at a gypsum kiln. To make it easier for adventurers to distinguish the two, the old PvP reward track named items no longer have the named tag. Okay. Alright, nice. I'm glad that they're fixing some broken things with the PvP track rewards. Alright, disabled the ability to use these potions in PvP. Apparently people were, like, exploiting some of these buffs. The Chromatic Ward. Fixed an issue that prevented this perk from working properly. So Chromatic Ward is I think that's the Tower Shield perk that reduces damage from all elements. Fixed an issue where if you crafted multiple items and one became a named item, you would not receive the other items. It seems pretty bad. Beast Hordes dropped loot lower than intended. I kind of had a feeling that was the case. I had the feeling that there was something broken with those Beast Horde chests in the Elysian Wilds. I would get nothing but greens out of them. I would get greens and maybe like 1 or 2 blues, and that was it. So now it seems like that was a bug that they fixed. Adjusted the aptitude chests the player can purchase in the faction shop rank 6. Okay, that's the highest rank. These chests no longer reward 2 to 3 tier 5 materials. They will now offer 60 to 120 tier 5 2 raw materials instead. Tier 52. We're way in the future now. Wait, so they had changed it from 2 to 3 to 60 to 120? We were off by a factor of 30? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 2, exactly. 52. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 52. Fix an issue that caused mithril rings and earrings to not function as intended. Wait, how were they intended to function? Did they just not work? Fixed an issue that caused war instances to not start properly. I think I remember some folks complaining about that in Global as well. Simultaneous influence races are now enabled on Abaton as part of a test. Simultaneous influence races. So that's actually interesting, because I know that influence races are very popular to the extent that some folks, like in the game, for those of you that are unfamiliar with this, they limit the number of people that can be in a particular point of interest at a time. And if too many people show up at one point of interest, it teleports you back to the settlement. Which is just ridiculous to me. Like, the whole point of open world PvP is that it's a giant mess, right? With a ton of people there. But they control that. So I wonder if this is if enabling more than one of them at a time is a way for them to alleviate that problem. I don't know. We'll see. All right, enough of that. Let's get into the